Now, Julian, first and foremost, congratulations to you and Juliet on the birth of Cal, your first son, in January.
Thanks. Thanks.
Now, that on top of the fact that you've gone solo, you're touring solo, you've recorded solo, and you're not living exclusively in New York, suggests that maybe this is a bit of a transitional phase in your life. Now, do you feel that? And if so, are you a bit anxious about it in any respect?
Um, no, I'm not anxious. I live. I mean, I still live in New York. Um, I know it's been people made a lot of that I moved to LA, but I just worked there for a few months. But it's a little bit of a transition thing, a little bit of a, but it's fun, For me, stage one of any process is the most fun. So kind of starting over in some ways, it's been kind of exciting because it's like I can use all the experiences that I've had, and I kind of know what I'm doing a lot more than when I was 20.
Yeah,
and,
right.
but it's still a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. So I'm happy. I don't know, as anxious as I ever was, I guess, or not anxious. I mean, that keeps you motivated. I think it's a good thing.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned the New York thing there. You are still living there, but you have been working in LA quite a bit. Now, from all I've read and seen about what you've said about New York recently, it seems to me like, in some respects, you feel this provincial ambassador's sort of responsibility to New York because yourself and your band are so intrinsically tied with the city. Now, are you tiring of that responsibility a little bit?
I mean, I don't really necessarily buy into it. I mean, anytime anyone says anything nice, I'll take it. But it's not even that I feel so much like, I would never dare betray New York and live anywhere else, as much as, yeah, people seem to kind of, care more than I do, about whether I live there in New York. But it was just, the truth was is that I didn't move out of New York, so so it's not that I'm trying to salvage my rep. I'm just trying to say, chillax. I still live in New York. I don't know. It's hard to leave, because there's different, pros and cons. I mean, personally, I feel like New York or LA, they're both amazing places to live, so I don't see the big debate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They both have their pros and cons. I think what you can say for New York, though, is that it is probably the most exciting place in the world, so that's kind of hard to leave. It's also hard to stay in for long stretches of time because you just feel like you got to get out because it can be kind of a pressure cooker. But
where do you think this issue of people caring whether you live in New York or not stems from? Is it maybe the fact that when New York City Cops came out, there was a lot of controversy and you had to drag it from the album in the States? As a consequence of that, do you think that maybe New Yorkers feel a certain affinity with you guys particularly?
I don't I don't know. I can't speak. I mean, there's always been a lot of love, when we play shows and stuff. I mean, I did the first solo show there, and I was kind of nervous. I didn't really know what to expect, but it was great. So I can't really tell so much what other people think, and I don't know why. I think there's just something about. Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I haven't really thought about it. I know that might sound weird, but
No. I understand. The term effortless is something that gets thrown around a lot when referring to your music and your style and your persona and so on. Now, I think the great dichotomy there is the fact that I don't really think, as far as you're concerned, it's at all effortless. You seem to be very meticulous to the point of really frustrating yourself, particularly in the recording process and so on. No stone goes unturned. Now, when people say, Julian, it's so effortless, your music, do you think, well, maybe you're not really seeing the attention to detail that I put in, or do you take it as a compliment because essentially that's what you're going for?
I think it's a good thing. I mean, I think, yeah, you kind of, like you said, exactly, you work hard to try to make it seem effortless, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want it to sound like, wow, he must have worked a lot. I mean, sometimes I think that when you listen to like great music, but that the general casual listener should not be thinking that when he's listening to music, you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
It should just kind of move you and be powerful, and yeah, I think it takes, sometimes there's moments where things happen magically for sure, but I think it's a culmination of a lot of work beforehand, you know. I think the harder you work, the luckier you are, as they say. So yeah, there's definitely moments where sometimes we'll just write a song really quickly, or it'll just work, and it'll always be like the song that people like and be smooth and easy, but I think you have to struggle through a bunch to get to those.
And speaking of overthinking, you've said that performing solo has made you learn to have fun on stage again. Now, I don't really understand why you weren't having fun previously on stage. Were you overthinking the whole process a bit when you're in a band?
Well, it's not. It's tough. I mean, it's subtle, you know. I mean, for me to have a good show, it's a lot of. It's not straight. I mean, the main thing I've realized is it just needs to sound good. I think if I feel like it sounds good, then I have a good time, you know. So, what I was referring to there, I mean, it's not that. I think maybe sometimes I felt like if I was kind of, you know, joking around with the crowd, you know, maybe I felt like people would be annoyed, like, come on, let's just play the song. And that just, it's not as relaxing, maybe, you know. Yeah, I don't know, there was subtle weird things going on, but
With the band, or?
well, just in my mind. I mean, I just think now, I think I'm just kind of, I'm trying to, I was always just worried about the whole vibe of what was going on, you know, the music and how we're playing it, and I was kind of worried about, I was taking on all that kind of responsibility, and I think now I just try to enjoy it more, and just try to like get into the song, try to, you know, like if I'm in a rehearsal room and I'm playing it and it's sounding good and I'm enjoying it, trying to tap into that a little more. I don't know if it has anything to do with who I'm playing with as much as maybe where I'm at.
Well, every time I've seen you live on stage, you seem quite controlled. You seem to be observing everything that's going on. I'm not saying it's not an impassioned performance, but you're very observant and you have a consciousness of how you're coming across, which is in contrast to the music, a lot of it anyway, which is quite visceral and energetic. And do you think that maybe you've tried to enhance your live performances by encapsulating the energy of your solo music now?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's half and half. I don't think I'm just. I mean, if I was just trying to do some kind of control performance, I don't really have anything planned, or I try to. It's tough because, you know, you're entertaining people. People are paying to see the show, and you want to give a good show, and but at the same time you want to kind of be genuine. You know, you don't want to just. I don't know. So I sometimes struggle with that a little bit. Like if I'm having a bad show, like am I supposed to just kind of fake it, you know, for the sake? I think I probably should, to be honest, for the sake of people who go there. But then there's a part of me that feels like, but like, it's part of what they experience, you know, or what they. It's part of it just being who you are, and just, you know, maybe there's a weird dark performance, but that's cool in a different way than the last show, you know what I mean? So so I can't say I've figured it out. I mean, I try to be spontaneous. I try to go with the flow. I don't like, you know, plan things, or I don't want it to feel. I mean, I end up saying like sometimes similar things before certain songs because I'm just stating a fact that I feel about the song. Like before we do the Christmas song, I usually say like, you know, this is our awesomely inappropriate Christmas song, or what, you know, whatever. I just, because it always feels so awesomely inappropriate. But sometimes you see shows and they kind of have the same shtick, and every night they're doing
It's
the same kind
choreographed.
of routine, and I try not to do that. But I don't know. It's a mix. I mean, I used to. You can get distracted too when you look at too much what's going on. So I don't know. Sometimes you just want to close your eyes and you want to perform, and you feel like that'll be better. And sometimes you end up kind of running around, and then you think maybe they're reacting better to that.
You sound very comfortable to me throughout Fraser for the Young. There's this undercurrent of you relaxing and going, this is me. It's a singular vision that I can now realise without any sort of outside influences, which may not have been the case when you were working with the band. Is that how you approach it? Is that what you've found gratifying about the process?
How is it not like working with the band? I'm sorry.
In terms of, there's not that sort of sense of collaboration that you maybe wouldn't otherwise be seeking?
I mean, I definitely I was into not, I was just, every time I just had an idea, I would chase it down. I mean, I chased down a lot of crazy ideas that didn't make it to the record, But it was fun to just have that freedom to just kind of, explore, I guess.
Now, lastly, Julian, the other undercurrent throughout Fraser for the Young is this sense of wisdom being lost in intergenerational translation. Now, you've just had your son, Cal. I imagine there are a few things that you would like to impart onto him once he's old enough to have cognition to understand what you're talking about. Now, are there any themes that you imagine you're going to try and impart over the coming years?
I mean, sure. It's tough. You don't want to be too pushy or too controlling in any way, or you want to let him be who he wants to be. There's a few things I've started kind of writing down that I'd like to eventually, try to say. So sure, but yeah, nothing too. You don't want to. You just want to let him kind of get the tools he needs, but be free to go whichever direction he wants.